On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
To retrospectively, would you have changed anything?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. Question.
So, okay. Regret. Go ahead.
No. The first question, what do you think was boring about your life? You said it was boring.
It was, yeah. I mean, I stayed in the house a lot and I really couldn't do anything. I remember being a cheerleader and I ran track. I played basketball. I did everything. And I remember white walls. I remember kind of coming in and going to practice and coming home to white walls. That's what I remember. You know, because I couldn't. Huh?
Because you didn't really do much outside of that.
Yeah, I remember my counterparts just being like, "Oh, like all the cheerleaders went to this party. Like, where'd you go?" And then I started getting into the mode of like I had to tell a lie or two, like, "Oh, you remember the girl with the such and such?" Like, "Oh, that was me," and they were like, "Oh, okay."
And she had everything she can ask for. Father, mother, good family around her. But I don't know. It seems like the more you give women coming up, it's like they just choose this toxic shit. And I don't know why. Maybe they never experienced it. Maybe it's curiosity. I don't know. We have to ask these beautiful women on the panel. All right. Y'all enjoy the rest of the show.
Women. Go ahead, Chavon. I know you was trying to chime in. No, Kayla. We'll go to Kayla. I know Kayla's seems to be eager. I seen you with your fingers up.
So there could be a couple of different reasons that women with great fathers still choose toxic men. One, there's a misconception about their father being a great father because he's a great man. So he could have had been a great provider and, you know, a great, you know, person in the community, but didn't provide the level of emotional and mental security. So there's that. So differentiate, making that that difference. The other part could be, you know, coming from such wholesome space. Sometimes people can, or some women can want excitement. They can want, you know, that what is that? Adrenaline that comes from doing toxic things. So it could be that. And then the last reason could be her father, meaning her father was like kind of over spoiled her and kind of created like unrealistic expectations of what's in the dating pool available to them. And then they just make bad choices on, you know, the man that they pick, trying to achieve maybe something in particular that their dad provided for them. So yeah, I think those are the three reasons that I could think of currently.
I think it's really important for what Kayla said, that to speak to the emotional support. Yes, a father can be in a home, but doesn't mean that necessarily, like you said, that they're a good father. And I think saying because a father is present, meaning that he's a great father, you know, like that. I think you really got to be careful when you define a good father versus somebody who's present in the home. Yes, more times than none, the father's not present. But if they are present, this is actually something we've talked about on the She Critique. But I think that emotional aspect is important, because if your confidence is there, then you're going to want less toxicity in your life. And that is actually built up by the father in the home, like building up that confidence, telling you that you're beautiful, telling you that, you know, the type of man that you should look for. Those are qualities of a good father versus somebody who's just present. So just to touch on what Kayla was saying.
Honestly, it could also be because she didn't want to listen to her father and want to go against the grain and test new things out. And she got bad influences by her friends. It says a great father. So I'm not going to depict the father like he was not in her life or anything. But college can be a big influence and the surroundings around them. Right. So, you know, especially if you go off to a college and you're not having your family influence anymore like you used to, that can be heavy on a person and they're not able to take that. So I would say the women just want to go against the grain and the lessons that their father instilled in them and want to say, hey, instead of going left, let me go right. my father said don't do drugs or have sex. Let me just go against that and just, have one night stands. Let me just go ahead and try this weed out and smoke. Let me go ahead and just, party every single weekend and stuff like that. Or, what's hip, what's new around the environment regarding if you go to college, the drinking, the partying, the boys and all that, they might, hey, let me just go this way. So I wouldn't really blame the father. At the end of the day, us as women, we have the choice.
I was just going off of the definition that JR gave. JR gave that present in the home. So that's why I was clarifying.
He said,
So he was just saying that if they're present in the home, like I get what you're saying. The definition is a great father, but he was saying, a father that is present in the home, which is why I was saying that doesn't necessarily define a good father, which is why I was.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wasn't rebuttaling. I was rebuttaling that. It was y'all.
No, but I agree with what you're saying. If you're going just by the question there, that he is present, he is giving you all of that guidance and supporting you emotionally and being there for you. This is, the other alternative.
Yeah. And for me personally, like I was a rebel. So I always felt like, I knew the guidelines on what my father wanted, but I wanted the opposite. I felt like what I saw in my household to me at the time, younger, was boring. And I didn't want boring. I wanted spontaneous, crazy, like that's just kind of what I wanted. It just kind of fueled my my day to day, and I guess in me looking at their day to day and looking at, oh, it might be boring, I thought that I didn't want it. And then when I didn't get it, it was kind of like, oh God, like maybe I do want that. But I couldn't switch my mindset into, hey, I want craziness. I want this and I want that and I want, somebody being spontaneous. And I didn't realize that you can be spontaneous with somebody and then not be crazy too. And I just didn't know. I was too young.
May I ask you a question though, Chavon? What do you think? What was boring about your life? I'm just curious.
And then I also have a question too. Retrospectively, would you have changed anything?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. Good question.
So, okay. Regret. Go ahead.
No. The first question, what do you think was boring about your life? You said it was boring.
It was, yeah. I mean, I stayed in the house a lot and I really couldn't do anything. I remember being a cheerleader and I ran track. I played basketball. I did everything. And I remember white walls. I remember kind of coming in and going to practice and coming home to white walls. That's what I remember. Because I couldn't. Huh?
Because you didn't really do much outside of that.
Yeah, I remember my counterparts just being like, oh, like all the cheerleaders went to this party. Like, where'd you go? And then I started getting into the mode of like, I had to tell a lie or two. Like, oh, you remember the girl with the such and such? Like, oh, that was me. And they were like, oh, okay.